Hello and welcome to the Indiana University Pulmonary and Critical Care Medicine Program and Critical Care Medicine track. I am Laura Hinkle. I'm the program director, and I'm delighted to welcome you here to IU. We are so looking forward to getting a chance to meet you at your upcoming interview and get to know you a little bit better as a person. So, hope you are just as excited about the interview day as we are. And I guess before we dive too far into this, why did we do this video? And this is something that we have done since interviews went virtual back in 2020. The reason being, Zoom fatigue is real. And we thought it was silly to make you guys sit through one more thing on Zoom when we could easily make this a video that you could watch whenever was convenient for you. We've gotten really good feedback from applicants about this, and they felt it put them in a good position to be able to really ask the questions they need to get answered on the interview day itself to figure out if IU is where they want to train. So hopefully you feel the same way. And thank you in advance for taking the time to watch this so that hopefully the interview day is a little bit more productive for you. Before I go any further, I just want to take a minute and encourage you to reflect on getting to this point. You got into med school, which not everybody who wants to go to med school gets the opportunity to do that. You were able to match into the specialty of your choosing. And now you're getting ready to embark on the next chapter of your training where you can take a deep dive into what you really, really, really like to do. So, congratulations on getting to this point, and I hope you appreciate that you have done a lot of hard work to get to this point, and you should give yourself a pat on the back for that. So, what is the interview day going to look like? We're going to start off at 7:30 in the morning with our chest conference. That's basically our division grand rounds. Typically, we'll have a faculty member and a fellow both present, each for about half an hour. Depending on the interview day you have, we may have our journal club that day. We do that once a month. And in that case, we actually have two fellows, each presenting a paper, and they have a faculty who mentors them in kind of going through the statistics and figuring out what to decipher, what to take out of that paper. So depending, you'll get a chance to see that too, depending on when you interview with us. After that, we'll have a little bit of a transition period, and then we will have you guys back on Zoom at 10 till 9. I'll take the 10 minutes we have there just to reintroduce myself, introduce all the other faculty who are going to be interviewing. And then you'll do interviews from 9 to about 11:25, 11:30, somewhere around in there. You'll do a total of 4 interviews. And the reason we cap it at 4 is there's good data out there that shows that the program really doesn't gain a whole lot by doing additional interviews, and neither does the applicant. So we've limited that to 4. So you'll have a couple of 20-minute breaks built into the schedule. When you have your break, feel free to turn off your camera, go grab more coffee, step outside, whatever you want to do, and then just be back in time for the next interview. There'll be a little bit of a break between interviews and then what I consider the most important part of the day, which is the time that you get to spend with the fellows. So that is the closest thing we have to replicating the pre-interview dinner that we used to get when we had in-person interviews. And that was a chance for you to really sit down, talk to the fellows, and try to get a sense of, is this place really where I want to train? So the way we've set this up, Vegas rules apply. What happens in that session with the fellows stays in that session with the fellows. We do not ask them to evaluate you. We do not ask them, what did you think of this candidate? Anything like that. You have free reign to ask them whatever you want to ask them. We've told them to be brutally honest and give you their truthful opinions about things so that you get a good sense of what it's like to be here. So with all of that said, we will go ahead and dive into the overview of the fellowship program. We'll start by going through some of the clinical training environments you'll rotate through, and I'm going to begin with Eskenazi. So Eskenazi is our county hospital. We have 2 different services there that you would rotate on. One is the MICU and the other is our pulmonary consult service. This is probably one of our fellows' favorite hospitals to rotate through just because they have a lot of autonomy. It's a really good patient mix. Eskenazi is a level 1 trauma center, and while a lot of the trauma goes to the trauma service and not to our MICU service, we do see some of these patients who have been surgically cleared and have mostly medical issues. It is also the most established burn center in the state. So we'll see patients who have had burn injuries, typically on the consult service, doing airway inspections and those types of things. So it's a lot of fun. Our PCCM fellows will also have a clinic here at Eskenazi every other week for the duration of their fellowship. So let me talk about the MICU first. The MICU has two teams actually. Both teams have a dedicated attending fellow, two senior residents, and then either two interns or maybe an intern and a family medicine resident. We also usually have one or two medical students on each team. And we have nurse practitioners. They provide support to our services both during the day and at night. During the day, they will help cover if one of the residents has a day off, so they'll see that person's patients. And at night, they work alongside the night float resident to admit patients and take care of cross cover. Most of them are signed off on central lines and airways. So if your resident is not signed off, the NPs are able to help with that. Census is variable, but on average, I would say probably 10 to 16 patients per team. And like I said, it's just a lot of fun. You do home call here at Eskenazi, and I'll talk a little bit more about the call later on. On the pulmonary consult side of things, obviously, you will see pulmonary consults. You'll do the airway inspections for the burn patients that come in during the day, and also do some urgent clinics, outpatient bronchoscopies, things like that. So a lot of really cool stuff here. We will shift gears a little bit now and talk about University Hospital, which is where I do all of my inpatient time. University is a quaternary referral hospital. This is where you're going to see a lot of really cool, crazy stuff with weird infections because we have so many immunocompromised patients and things that get transferred in from all over the state. So two teams here. We have or two services, I should say. We have the ICU team that is an attending, a fellow, 3 senior residents with a 4th one on night float at any given time, 2 interns, and then generally 3 medical students. We also have a pharmacist that rounds with us, and that is the case at Eskenazi as well. Census generally runs 8 to 18. Doesn't go over that for the MICU team because that's as many beds as we have in the unit. And you'll see a lot of patients with advanced cancer, really advanced liver disease, bad pancreatitis. We have a very renowned advanced GI service here that takes patients from other places that need ERCPs and different things like that. So we end up taking care of a lot of those patients as well. And on the consult side, it's an attending, a fellow, nurse practitioner, senior resident, and then we generally have a medical student as well. On the consult side of things, we are the primary service only for cystic fibrosis admissions, and then patients admitted after the endobronchial valve placement. Otherwise, we provide critical care backup for the bone marrow transplant unit. We help with vent management in the transplant ICU, and just see a range of pulmonary consults beyond that. So lots of good stuff, lots of really good learning. There is, I wouldn't call it a service, but there is a 3rd rotation you would do here, and that's the bronch PFT rotation. Generally, you do that for a total of 4 weeks over the course of your first year, and that's where you get to read pulmonary function testing and also do bronchoscopies. And this is where we have a lot of our advanced bronchoscopy with the ion robot, endobronchial valves, just different things like that, stents and whatnot. So lots of really cool opportunities here. Moving on, we'll talk about Methodist Hospital. So Methodist is a level 1 trauma center. It is the largest hospital in our system. It has about 130 ICU beds. We do not cover all of them. Some of those are covered by surgery and different things, but we do help cover a lot of them. The team structure is really varied. There are a lot of sub-specialized units within here at Methodist, such as the neuro ICU, the CV surgery ICU, the cardiac medical critical care unit, just different things like that. So this structure will vary some. You will see a ton of things. This is where we do all of our heart and lung transplants and where you'll get your ECMO exposure as well. So for the CCM fellows, this is going to be home base for you guys. You have some rotations at University, the VA, and Eskenazi, but the bulk of your rotations are at Methodist Hospital. So IU West is another hospital that's in our system. This is out in Avon, and it's a suburban hospital. We just started having fellows go out there a few years ago. I think maybe 4 years ago now it's been a very popular rotation. The fellows really enjoy it. They get to work one-on-one with an attending. It's a little bit different flavor than what we get at the med center. There's not as many other learners around, but they're able to take care of some pretty sick patients over there. They have really grown a lot. They're able to do dialysis in the unit. They are able to obviously take care of vented patients, do pacing and things like that in the unit. So you can see some pretty sick patients, and it's been a really good addition to the program. Lastly, we have the VA hospital. And our VA is fairly large. It serves as a catchment area for a lot of the VAs in the region here. So you will see a good mix of stuff in general. The census can vary. Sometimes the ICU and the consult service are both a little bit light, but on those months, it's a good month to catch up on other things. But you can see patients with balloon pumps, on CVH, all of that kind of stuff there at the VA. We also have, as you can imagine, a pretty robust lung cancer screening program there. And this is where our fellows get a lot of their EBUS experience. For the two services we have here, one is the MICU service. That is an attending, a fellow, generally 2 residents, sometimes 3 and an intern, sometimes it's 2 residents and 2 interns, and then a medical student. Consult service is attending, fellow, and medical student. So again, that's the VA, just to give you a sense of where things are in relation to each other. You can see in the upper left-hand corner here, we have the VA Medical Center. Right across the street is Eskenazi, so it's a really quick walk to get from one to the other. University Hospital is in the red box over here to the right, and I would say it takes about 10 minutes or so to walk from University Hospital over to Eskenazi. So totally walkable, and these 3 are pretty close. I have another slide coming up where you'll see where Methodist is. One thing to bring up is we do have a new building going up that is going to combine Methodist and University hospitals into one hospital, which I think is going to be a huge plus for our patients and also for you guys in terms of the experience that you get. It's right now slated to open late 2027. This is the architect's rendition of what it's going to look like when it's done. And this is where we are at now. If you look at the stars on the map, the 3 kind of in the southwest corner there, that's the VA closest to the White River. Then you can see Eskenazi just to the right of that, University to the right of that. Up in the northeast corner there is where Methodist Hospital is. It's about a 5-minute drive from University, and the new hospital is going up right next to that. And just a quick word about the medical system. At Eskenazi, we use Epic. At IU Health, we currently use Cerner, but that is going to be transitioning to Epic. I've been told this is slated to happen in the first quarter of 2027, so that's coming up. And then at the VA, obviously, we have CPRS, just like every other VA in the country does. So we'll talk a little bit about what schedules look like. We'll start with PCCM. This kind of is a block schedule for the F1, F2, and F3 year. Everybody starts in July with summer school. Summer school is a month-long experience where you get didactics, you get some procedural exposure, and you'll also have some time to shadow on the different services to be able to see kind of what your role is and where things are, things like that. Generally, it's 2 to 3 months of ICU at Eskenazi, a couple at the VA in the ICU, a couple on VA consults, a block of ambulatory, a block of pulm consults at Methodist, 2 at University, 1 block of bronch PFT that's broken up a little bit, and then a research block, which is actually a career development block, which is a 2-week experience that we have split up into 2 times a year. I'll explain that a little bit more later. As a second year, you can see you'll do Methodist ICU for a block, transplant, Uni ICU, Eskenazi or VA consults, and then the rest of the time is filled generally with research and or elective blocks, about 5 to 8 elective or research blocks, depending on your career plans and your fellowship track. So obviously the months that are left, because the ones I listed don't add up to 13 when you add in these others. So you'll have some other clinical months as well, but you'll have some time to really hone in on what you want to do. For your third year, it's Methodist ICU for a block, Neuro ICU, and then CV ICU for a block, Uni again, Bronch PFT, and then sometimes you'll end up doing Eskenazi or VA consults, but again, we try to really tailor things depending on your career plans and which fellowship track you are in. For the CCM fellows, again, summer school, it happens in July for you as well. And then this kind of gives you a rough idea. Eskenazi for a couple of blocks. You'll do transplant your first year for 1 block, VA ICU for 2 blocks. You have a block in the surgical ICU. You go to the same career development block or research block that we have listed that the PCCM fellows do. Methodist ICU for a block, and then Methodist Core is just some different ICUs that you rotate through that our PCCM fellows do not. And those cover some different things like trauma and those types of things. So that's what that is. And then you can see your second year is structured a lot like the F2 and F3 years for the PCCM fellows. So elective opportunities, there are a ton. You can really create your own adventure, which I think is the last thing I have listed here. And this is true of the totality of your second and third years of fellowship, or if you're CCM, your second year. The first year is clinically very heavy, as you saw, and I think that's the case at a lot of places, but this really frees up time, year 2 and year 3, to explore what you want your career to look like when you're done with fellowship and really focus on the things you need to prepare yourself for that career, whether it's additional research exposure, whether it's educational focused things, whether it's developing a niche in interventional pulmonary or something along those lines. You have the opportunity to tailor things for that. The electives I have starred on this page are things that you actually will do as part of just your regular curriculum, but you can do them again and customize them a little bit more if that's going to help you reach your career goals. So what does call look like? So all of the Methodist ICU rotations, those are all shift work. So you'll be there generally 7A to 7P, depending on the rotation. You'll change over and go home. Eskenazi, ICU, you do, and consults also. The consult fellow pitches in and helps out with ICU coverage. You do home call 7 nights a month. Like I said, there's a resident and a nurse practitioner in-house, so they will take care of a lot of stuff. They'll call staff consults with, not consults, I'm sorry, admissions with you. And if they feel like they're in over their head and they need some help, they'll give you a call and you'll go in. You'll cover one weekend. One weekend of coverage means you're on call from Friday evening through Monday morning. But again, you've got support in-house to help with some of this stuff. So university is also shift work. You are in-house on consults till 5 p.m. There's no weekends for you guys with this rotation and no overnight call. University ICU, you're in-house 7A to 7P. We have a night system that is comprised of fellows and faculty that cover 7P to 7A. And then I put alternating weekends on here, but we've shifted University ICU to actually being in just 2-week blocks. So during that 2-week block, you would work one of the 2 weekends. At IU West, it varies a little bit. Generally, you're in-house until things are done, but most of the fellows tell me they leave around 4 o'clock unless there's a lot going on. But typically out by 4, you work Sunday, 7A to 9P to help out with call coverage over the weekend, and obviously have faculty backup. And then VA ICU and consults, you do home call again here every other week, and you alternate weekends. So this adds up to, in your first year, about 15 weekends over the course of the year, and roughly 60 nights of home call, which includes those 3 calls on the weekend. In your second and third year, it's a little bit less. You have about 11 weekends, roughly 20 nights of home call. There is the opportunity for in-house coverage in the university ICU once you're a second year, which pays $125 an hour. It's not required, but it's something that you can take advantage of if you want to. So, how our teams work just in general, especially in our general ICUs, not the super specialized ones, but the general ones, you guys are going to have a lot of autonomy. And honestly, by the end of your first year, you can handle almost anything the ICU throws at you. And that's partly why we've designed the program so that your first year is clinically more heavy, so that you can get to that point quickly and then be able to shift your focus to really honing your skills, but also developing different skills and expertise and things that are going to help you with your career after fellowship. Just to give you an idea of procedurally what our fellows do, this is a representative log from one of our graduating PCCM fellows, and you can see ample opportunities to do tons of procedures. For the CCM fellows, you don't hit quite this number, and obviously you don't do EBUS, but you also have over 2 years a ton of procedures. Easily you can prove competence in all of these. And honestly, about halfway through first year, our fellows are usually letting the residents and the students do procedures because they're very comfortable and are fine with passing those off. Some additional procedure opportunities that we have that are new is there is the possibility to get certification in the ion robotic bronchoscopy if it's something you're interested in. Not required, but for those who are interested, that is something that just came out this year, and we've already had 2 fellows complete the training for that, and we have a handful more who are working on it. And there's also an ECMO course that you can take at no charge that ultimately leads to eligibility for ECMO certification if that's something you're interested in. You do the course, we have you do some extra time on the transplant rotation to get additional exposure to ECMO, and then you would be on your own to pay for the certification exam, but you would have all of the other stuff you need to get that. If you took the course not being a fellow, I think the cost is a little over $1,000. So it's a good opportunity. We'll talk about clinics just for a little bit here. So this is a pretty standard clinic schedule that our fellows have. We alternate clinic sites every other week. So you can see on this one, weeks 1 and 3 are the Eskenazi Clinic. They're not all on Tuesdays. This is just an example, but that. And then on the weeks you're not at Eskenazi, you might be at IU West or any number of other places. But just to give you a sense, you alternate every other week. That non-Eskenazi clinic can be a general pulmonary clinic at IU West or at Methodist, but it can also be a subspecialty clinic. And we have all of these available. Advanced asthma, CF, ILD, interventional pulmonary hypertension, and sarcoidosis. So these are options if you want to really take a deeper dive into one of these areas. That can be your second clinic. If you don't know starting fellowship what you want to do, that's totally fine. You can just start off with whatever you're assigned, and you have the opportunity to switch into something else if you decide you really want to learn more about a different area of pulmonary. Conferences are as follows. There's a research conference on Mondays at 12. We have a T32 Journal Club on Tuesdays that happens once a month. Every Wednesday we have a fellows conference at 12. We do a couple times a month split out the CCM fellows from the PCCM fellows because I didn't think it was fair to make the CCM fellows sit through sessions on lung nodules or clinic vaccinations that the PCCM fellows need, but the CCM fellows don't. So that's why we do that. Thursday morning is chest conference, and that you're going to experience on your interview day. And then at Methodist Hospital on Fridays, they alternate their chest conference with a journal club every other week. Other parts of the curriculum, there is a C3 course, which is a critical care communication course that's been really well received. We didn't get to do it this past year because we weren't able to get the funding, but we're hoping to get that back up and running again this current academic year, and then make sure everybody has had an opportunity to do it. We have an annual research retreat. This is something where The first years kind of get to go and just absorb. These second years will present their scholarly work and what their proposals are and get feedback on it. The third years will give an update on the work that they've been doing, and it's a really cool event. It is. I think it's helpful for everybody to just see what's being done and be able to celebrate the successes that some of our fellows have had with their projects. The career development block, which was referenced earlier as the research block, this is something just for the first years. We do a week in the fall and the week in the spring. And the idea is that it's some time away from clinical work to start thinking about what you might want to do with your life when you're done with fellowship, and to start developing some of those skills that will get you there. So things like exploring different career pathways. We have a session on how to do an IRB here at IU. We have our library team come talk about some of the resources that are available that you might not otherwise know about. Things like that. It's been really well received. The fellows have enjoyed it, and it's really helped them start their second year with a much clearer idea of what they want to do in terms of scholarly work, and to be able to kind of hit the ground running with that. There is also an advanced airway course that we typically do in the second half of the year that's open to all of the fellows, where you have a chance that now that you've got some intubations under your belt, you can start tackling some of those more complex airways, people that need crikes, things like that, and get some practice in that. So vacation, you do get 4 weeks of paid vacation, and we strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you to take all of it. We also have some paid time off around the holidays. Typically, we'll split it up to where you get a week off over either Christmas or New Year's time periods, to be able to just celebrate with your family, take some time, take a breath. That does not count against your vacation time. Some other benefits. One thing that IU does that not every program does is your medical and dental insurance premiums are fully paid for both you and your family members. There's paid family leave, free parking, and then there is a meal allowance when you're on any of the inpatient services at any of the IU Health hospitals. Eskenazi offers a discount on food purchase there, and I don't believe the VA does anything. But there's more information on that on the IUGME website if you want to look at it. So a little bit about fellowship pathways. We do, if you're interested in a career as a physician scientist, we do have an NIH T32 training pathway that can be entered from either the PCCM fellowship or the CCM track. We have had a CCM fellow do this as well. It does require an additional year of training. So a fourth year if you're PCCM and a third year if you are CCM. And that's because you really can't take advantage of this and get yourself set up to apply for a grant without that additional year. So again, designed to prepare you for career as a physician scientist, and we have had several fellows go through this and be very successful in establishing themselves as physician scientists upon completion of the program. There are some different GME training pathways that are open to residents and fellows across the IU system. There's the clinical educator training pathway, global health, health equity, and leadership. I've got a QR code there if you want to learn more about these. If you are in the PCCM pathway, you would start thinking about this and apply for it in January or February of your first year. If you are a CCM person who matches with us, then if you know you're interested in these, let me know right away, because we'll need to have you apply before you start. Other things, if you're interested in education, business, public health, ethics, clinical research, there are a lot of other programs available to help you build skills to succeed in any of those areas. And we can talk more about that on your interview day if you have interest in any of those. So really quickly, what do our fellows do? I mean, obviously the clinical stuff, but what do they do? So scholarly work for this last year, we had 4 who published peer-reviewed publications. I know there are several others that are still under review. We had more than 7 fellows present at national conferences. I know that we had 7 between ATS and CHEST. I believe some of them presented at SCCM as well. All of them did some sort of scholarly work, and all of them were involved in teaching presentations of some kind. Other cool stuff our fellows do. One of our chief fellows, Allison Bundy, actually went through the board certification process for critical care echocardiography as a second year fellow, and she successfully passed the exam. So she is board certified in that before she's even taken her pulmonary or her critical care boards. There is the opportunity for ECMO certification, as I mentioned before, and one of our fellows has gone through that and is just waiting to take the exam. We have plenty of fellows who are members of national committees. Some of them are members of local committees here at the hospital. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that they do on top of all the clinical stuff. To give you a sense of where our fellows go when they leave IU, about half of them go into private practice versus academics. And those who go into academics, a lot of them go into academics with more of a clinical trajectory, but we do have about 20% of them who are on a research pathway where they are fully funded scientists who spend a few months of the year doing clinical work and the rest of their time doing research. About 15% of our fellows go on to additional training, whether that's interventional pulmonary fellowships, pulmonary hypertension fellowships, etc. And approximately 60% of our graduates do decide to stay here in the state of Indiana somewhere after they're done with their training, whether that's at IU or any of the surrounding hospitals. So who are the people that make up the program? I will say this is honestly my favorite part of our division. It truly feels like family. So you can see we've got our division chief, Roberto Machado, up in the upper left-hand corner. He is awesome. He's super supportive of all of the fellows, takes time to meet with each of you your first year to figure out what you want to do and how he can help you get there. I've got our chief fellows listed there, Allison Bundy, Matt Coughlin, and Natalie Wiseman. There's myself up in the upper right-hand corner. Evan Tomkowitz is our CCM track APD. Brent Bagley is APD in charge of curriculum. Edwin Jackson is the APD for procedural competency and our ultrasound guru. And then Nick Iannazzo is the APD for ambulatory. So a little bit about what it's like to live in Indy if you haven't been here. It's a really easy place to live for a lot of reasons. The cost of living is pretty low. When you stack up a lot of the major cities in the country and look at cost of living, we are in the lower half of that list in terms of cost of living. The last time I looked this up a few months back, a 2-bedroom apartment averages roughly $1,200 a month, just to give you an idea. And a lot of our fellows, especially those who have families, they choose to buy a home while they're here, and that's completely doable and affordable as well. We are close to a lot of other major cities, so if you like big cities and want to go to Chicago for the weekend or whatever, that is an easy drive to make. This is going to sound lame. We have a really awesome airport. Our airport is won Best Airport for Customer Experience Worldwide 12 years in a row now. So I think that is a big plus. And there's a lot of stuff to do. So you're not going to be sitting here bored on your weekends off. There's a little bit of something for everyone. So the Indy 500 is probably what we are most famous for. Also, the Indy 500 mini marathon, which people from all over the country come to run in this. It's a cool marathon. Several people in the division also participate in this. We have our own Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra. And one of my favorite things that they do is they have a summer concert series outdoors where you can go, take your chairs, take your picnic lunch, your bottle of wine, your beer, whatever, and hang out and listen to music, which is a lot of fun. We have the Monon Trail, which is awesome for biking, and Eagle Creek Park, which has trails which are great for hiking, running, and the White River, which is part of that, which is also good for kayaking and things like that. So lots of stuff that way. And we have some pretty good restaurants too. So I hope this has given you a better sense of what the program is like and what you could expect if you come here to IU. If you have any questions, please write them down. Make sure you ask them and get those answered during your interview day. And I am looking forward to seeing you then.